Hello friends, this is Dr. Praveen Parmar, founder of VyaparJagat.com. Today we have Ms. Deepa Nagarajan online. She is founder and managing director at Deepa Nagarajan LLP. She is an entrepreneur. She is a successful woman leader, a consultant, a teacher, a corporate trainer, a professor at various colleges and universities. She is also an author to one of the best-selling book on women leadership. The book's title is Woman on Board. She is also working on several other books now. To know more about Deepa Nagarajan, I suggest all of you to visit her website, that is www.deepanagarajan.com. So friends, now let me admit Deepa to this particular room, and we will know more about her story. We will know more about what sort of challenges she had during her career, and lot many things about the journey of Deepa Nagarajan. And welcome to Vyapar Jagat, a series of interviews wherein we are featuring women leaders, right? So again, the kind of women, those who are contributing in building India's entrepreneurship ecosystem. So we are pleased to have Deepa Nagarajan online. Welcome to Vyapar Jagat TV, Deepa.
Thank you very much, Dr. Praveen Parmar, for having me. I'm so happy to be here, and it's great to be talking to you, and really, really happy to be participating in this program.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Deepa. And so friends, let us know more about the career of Deepa. I mean, how she has contributed 25 years in this particular entrepreneurship ecosystem, and how she started. So there are a lot of things, I think, there which we want to know, which we want to learn from Deepa's career, Deepa's journey. So Deepa, we request you to please tell your story in your words, and you can go ahead. Yeah, please.
Thanks a lot, for asking me this, and I'm happy to share a few insights which are very humbling. It's been a very humbling experience for me. I started my career way back in 93, 94. I was, I worked with a lot of organizations across industries. From 2001 onwards, I've been with the IT industry and in various leadership positions. I worked for organizations like IBM, HP, Samsung. So about 23, 24 years I put in the corporate. Afterwards, somewhere in 2015, 2016, I kind of, wanted to, dirty my hands with entrepreneurship myself. Wanted to put together all my experiences and see if I can help the entrepreneur ecosystem myself, right? Bring in the right kind of strategies, methodologies, processes. This is what I started doing in 2015-16. That was the birth of my organization, my consulting organization. And since then, for us, it's been no looking back. We're a small team. We help a lot of organizations get their strategic frameworks right through the implementation of OKRs. I'm one of the award-winning OKR consultants in India. And we've been helping startups with just 40, 50 people, right up to big organizations which have 3,000 to 4,000 people. So it has been a fantastic journey, challenging, yes. But all the learnings that I have had in my past and in my corporate experience, there's a great opportunity to contribute that for myself and for the organizations which are looking for this kind of help. That's in a summary, Dr. Praveen, but it's not been that easy a ride. There's been lots of ups and downs, like any entrepreneur's journey, especially being a woman entrepreneur, a woman leader. Sometimes the challenges are double. But yes, I mean, there are ways to overcome that. There are ways to work around that if we just have the will and the perseverance.
Absolutely, Deepa. So Deepa, we also want to know more about your your college time, or probably your sort of background or your childhood, wherein how it all started. I mean, what was that particular thing which brought you to the industry, and you thought that you want to become a consultant or a teacher or an entrepreneur, right? So what was that?
I think my motivation came from my parents, of course. I come from a very small, humble family, and for us, it was very important. My parents placed a lot of importance for us on knowledge and learning, right? So education was very, very important. Aspect in the family, in the household, and my parents were very big influences for me. I was born and brought up in Bangalore, and to be honest, in my school days, I wasn't very clear what I wanted to do. Once I wanted to become a doctor, once I wanted to become a teacher. So, any child, I had a lot of different dreams. But I think as I started aging and started, becoming more open and outgoing, mixing with friends and taking guidance from my teachers, I think it started kind of falling in place. At one point in time, I actually wanted to join the Indian Air Force, and I was, in fact, training for that. I was in the NCC Air Wing, and I did write my pilot aptitude battery test in Mysore. This was in 94, 95. For various personal reasons, I couldn't really pursue that. But I didn't give up. I just, put all my learnings and my interests and my passion into the first job that I took up, which was a very difficult sales job. It was a very high pressure sales job. So I aced it. Actually, I was a very good sales, executive. I was into the hospitality industry at that time. And I think from then there's been no looking back. There's been lots of ups and downs. But I always was, a very outgoing person. Even in college, I used to participate in the union elections, in the college union elections, and I used to participate in all the programs. I was a musician. I was a part of the music club in the college. So I never left any stone unturned. And you know what? I think our generation was lucky. We didn't have too many distractions in terms of gadgets and cable TV and all that, which these generations have. We had one Doordarshan national television, and we used to watch few serials. Other than that, there were like hardly any distractions. So I think we were very productive. We were very outgoing, and we knew the art of utilizing our time to our advantage. So I think we are the lucky generation, I should say.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it is very true. I mean, this particular, so whatever the revolution is happening as of now in terms of technology and especially, digital gadgets, right? So sometimes it becomes a question. I mean, is it beneficial, or it is, harmful for our children?
Yeah.
Certainly. All right. So Deepa, now moving forward, I have one question. I mean, so can you just highlight, one or two struggles which you do remember, during your journey you come across? Yes, please.
How do I say, Dr. Praveen? I don't think there's been one or two challenges. There have been like millions of challenges. But if I were to summarize them, it's difficult to summarize, but if I were to tell some of the challenges, one is that in the corporate journey, though I was a very outgoing performer who was always looking forward to learning new things and contributing to the organization, I was a very good team player. All this was great. I was a very good orator, so I used to participate in a lot of presentations, events, etc. However, I think the fact that I was a woman, I wouldn't say it was limiting factor, but I think I had to work extra hard. I had to, put in those extra efforts. And also, of course, I was a mother of a child. My daughter was born in 99. So I was a mother of a child, and it was not an easy journey to take up the challenging roles and the roles that I love to do, but at the same time being able to create, I mean, like any woman does struggle, right, with her work-life balance, as they call. So till the time, so here's the secret, till the time I was worrying about balancing the work and life, I was struggling. So at one day, I just had to sit back and say, no, why is it such a struggle? That's because we actually try to, this work-life balance, that terminology is a misnomer. When I say work-life balance, that means I'm taking a chunk of my day's time, which I spend 8 or 10 hours on work. Is it not a part of my life?
It is,
It
yeah.
is life too. So what do you mean by work-life balance? I would say integrating your work into your life. It's integration that is required, and to see what are the gaps, where do you put the support systems in place. And I remember Indra Nui, in one of her speeches, she says, you need to create that support system. You need to, bring in those people who can, play that role of a great support for you, right? And trying to do everything all the time also is unrealistic. So I think the moment I started picking these techniques and started looking at my work also as a part of my life, right? It is my life. I'm giving my 8-10 hours of my every day, 24 hours, into this fantastic, and in my work environment that I was a part of. Yes, there are challenges, etc., but that's a part of my life too, because it's influencing me every day. It is it is building me, it is building my personality, it is building my character. It is having so much of impact on me. Why is it not a part of my life? So the moment I figured that that's very thin line between work and life, and it's not two separate things, they are one single entity, and I need to integrate my work into my life. The moment I figured that out, I think the struggle started becoming more of excitement. So it took time. It's not an easy thing, and it is different for different people. But that is the secret. Don't look at your work as separate from your life. Work is a part of your life. You meet a lot of good people, your good colleagues, etc., in work. How can you separate that from your life?
Awesome, great lesson. I think, yeah. So a lot of people, do not understand this particular philosophy, and that's how people are always trying to do the work-life balance. I mean, they are having the total different understanding about the work and life. So great lesson for all of us, I think. Yes, Diva. And so, Diva, when you said that, as a woman, so we all know that. I mean, when a woman is leading something, or you are trying to enter to the entrepreneurship ecosystem, or you want to contribute, so there are a lot of challenges you are coming up with. And again, these days we are having more support, more infrastructure available, more resources available. So again, if suppose someone is starting today, so they are having again, some sort of support, wherein it is easy compared to what earlier it was, right? Because these days the lot of communication channels has been opened, a lot of other facilities is there. So in those days, if suppose I ask you that, who supported you more? I mean, who supported you, most, like in terms of mentorship, in terms of other resources, those who have supported with sort of resources. So, who are your mentors, or who were your mentor at that time, Deepa?
Yeah, this is a very good question. And I think I wouldn't be doing justice to this discussion, Praveen, and also, to my success story, if I really didn't give credit to all the people who have contributed to the success. One thing I've observed is that when we succeed in our professional life, we would like to say that it's my hard work, it's my effort, but actually, there are a lot of people in behind the scenes, in the background. Like if you want to create a good movie, it needs to be done with an entire team, entire production team, right? There are a lot of people behind the scenes. So like that, even in my success story, there have been a lot of people behind the scenes. But I would rather than say they are behind the scenes, actually they are the heroes of my life. Starting with my mom, my brothers and sisters. They have all been very supportive of me. I have had a lot of guidance from my from my brothers and from my mom. My mom, I would say, she herself was a teacher. she is, I would say, in many ways, she's the architect of my success. She architected my success, actually, making me very confident, making me very, outspoken, but at the same time, being very balanced. It's not easy. It's not easy to achieve that state of balance, but I think she was very great. I've had, Dr. David Wolf, who also wrote the foreword for my best-selling book. Dr. David Wolf has been a great mentor to me. I also had the honor and fortune of meeting Dr. Marshall Goldsmith for a while when he was in Mumbai last, when he came to India, and the suggestions and the tips that he shared with me in that brief interaction that I had with him, a one-on-one interaction, that I think also made a lot of difference and inspired a lot of confidence in me, actually. I would not, I mean, I don't want to forget to mention this, that any kind of professional mentoring has, is important, yes, but personal mentoring is also very critical. How do you build a character, and how do you build the value system or the principles within an individual? That spiritual kind of mentoring, I would like to give that entire credit to my guru, His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who's the founder of ISKCON. I think reading his books actually made me a very kind, compassionate, yet a strong person, who was able to have that, the power of discretion and the right values and the right principles, of doing what's right for me, but at the same time not misusing or manipulating the system to get things done. So I think that's the greatest lesson that I've had from him, the greatest takeaway, that at no given point in time in life, we should actually give up on our values and principles to be able to be successful, and we don't need to do that. And I think my life is a testimony to that. So I would definitely like to, give a chunk of the credit to him.
Awesome. And so one more related question, Deepa. So we are talking about the mentoring and the support you have received during your journey. So can you tell me? I mean, can you tell us what sort of support you received from the government? I mean, because being an individual, as an individual professional, like you are working as a teacher or consultant or a professor, right? On the other side, you are running your own venture, right? So what are the support you have received so far, and again you are getting, if suppose there is something which you are getting from government, or the ecosystem which government is trying to build, right? So can you tell us something more about it?
Sure. I think a lot of initiatives from the government today are very, very useful for the entrepreneurial ecosystem, like the Startup India, all these kind of initiatives, I think, are very fantastic initiatives that encourages entrepreneurs. I myself have, had several rounds of discussions to get, small rounds of funding done through the government schemes. And it's unlike the misconception that is there, that it is very complicated. It was very smooth. It has been very, very good. The kind of encouragement that the government is giving for the MSME sector is phenomenal. It's fantastic. And I also think organizations like Vyapar Jagat are actually contributing a lot to this to this initiative of building India. And I think I would suggest a lot of entrepreneurs to make use of this ecosystem that is being built by government and by organizations like yours, which will really help people tap into their potential without having to worry where the resources or the mentoring, etc., coming from. Many times people think starting a business means it is all about getting funding. Funding, yes, is very, very important part, but there you also need a network of people who are your well-wishers, who are your who can mentor you during the critical stages of your your early journey in your startup. So I think those kind of that ecosystem which is being built by the government is very, very helpful. And I think the only way to make this how do you give back to such an ecosystem is how are you able to, carry the success story forward and help more entrepreneurs and more, startups? So this is something that I definitely look forward to. How do I contribute more to help people find the same success story? So that is something that I would like to share.
Absolutely. And Deepa, thank you so much. You mentioned Vyapar Jagat as also one of the contributor to the entrepreneurship ecosystem building. Wherein, so let me just tell you, so we are, so as an annual flagship event, we are organizing Vyapar Jagat Convention and Awards every year in the month of December. So our motto is the same, wherein, we want to give recognition to MSME owners. We want to recognize, the budding entrepreneurs, those who are going extra mile, those who are contributing in any ways. I mean, so they are ultimately, when they are working towards their business, when they are working towards the serving some sort of services or the products to the society, so they, that way they are contributing to nation building, and we want to recognize all such people. And yeah, so that is our national flagship event, and since 2 years we are dedicating the whole event, the whole efforts, and whatever we do for like around 6 months, we dedicate the entire project to our government's one more mission, that is the Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? Wherein we all are trying to become self-reliant, and the nation itself want to become a self-reliant. So in contribution, yeah, we are doing this particular activity, and a lot of people are supporting. So when you say we should give back to the society, so I also believe the same thing, and that is the reason I have started Vyapar Jagat, wherein it is now time to give back to the society, and let us see how many lives we can impact through this particular initiative. So that
Absolutely.
is the idea. Yeah.
And I
So
think you guys are doing a fantastic job.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Deepa. Yeah. So Deepa, now going forward, so we also want to know more about your future plans, what sort of goals you are having in your mind, and is there anything where so I am talking about the books you are currently writing. So is there any publication you are coming up with in short duration or in coming future, Deepa?
Yeah, sure. So our future plan, we are in the post, I wouldn't say post pandemic. I think now the pandemic has kind of become a part of our lives and we have learned how to live with it. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say post pandemic. I think it's still there, and there are, I see news that, there are still a lot of infections happening, but I think people are really getting used to this, living with it, taking precautions, following all the safety, measures, etc. So people are getting used to this. It's becoming a part of our life. So what do we do from here? Where do we go from here? I think organizations are still, in the mode of actually trying to get back on their feet, trying to figure out whether they need to adopt remote working permanently or whether they should bring back a certain workforce back to the workplace. So there are a lot of business decisions that I think organizations and business leaders are, struggling with. And if they, bring all these people together, how do they manage this? How do they manage the workforce? How do you rehash the goals? How do you rehash your business priorities? So these are some areas where we are going to be, helping organizations get their strategic imperatives going through right frameworks, through right strategy frameworks, using something like OKRs. Like I said, I am one of the award-winning consultants, and I'm perhaps the only consultant in India who has done OKR projects for governments and government bodies. So this, it's a beautiful system. OKR is catching on in India, and our plan is to, help organizations get back on their feet, get their, business priorities reimagined and rehashed using OKR framework. And we are also coming up with AI-based software tool that will actually help them track their OKR performance as they get their strategic OKRs in place. I'm also writing a book on OKRs, which is to be published soon, probably in a month's time, very soon. This book is the first book written on OKRs by an Indian author, demystifying and debunking a lot of myths around OKRs. which is why a lot of organizations fail in OKRs. So I want to help organization bust some of the myths and some of the misconceptions that they have about it, so that they can do the OKRs right in first instance, rather than having to repeat it and make mistakes and learn from it. How do you shorten that learning cycle, so that those learnings from working with a lot of Indian organizations and having done research. By the way, I also teach OKRs. I'm the first person to teach OKR as a subject matter in XLRI. So I'll be starting a course on OKRs in XLRI. And I've also taught OKRs in a few other management institutes. So there's a lot of research that I've done on the subject matter. I mean, we have along with my students, some of the students have done a lot of research. So these learnings we are going to bring together in a book. That is something that I am looking forward to in a few weeks' time.
Awesome. So I think, the way, so I also understand what OKR and KPIs and, the performance indicators. And when we talk about, the organizational performance management or the individual's performance management. So being a IT consultant, I come across, several balance scorecard tools, as well as the HR analytics and data analytics tools. So I understand this theory. So wherein you mentioned rightly, wherein there are a lot of organizations, those who are getting failed implementation of OKRs and
Yes.
the PMS, performance management systems.
Yes.
Right? Because I mean, there are several reasons, and I'm sure you are addressing all those points in one book. Right.
Yes.
So that particular thing, I think, again, when we talk about, so there is a saying, like, what gets measured gets done. Right.
Correct.
And the same way in every organization, I think the employee measurement, the organization measurement, it has to be there. Right. And if any any CXO, any person, any leader, if suppose you want to achieve your goals, then you have to keep measuring your manpower. You have to keep measuring your processes. Right.
Absolutely.
And so I think it is going to be a great contribution towards all the MSME owners or the entire ecosystem, Deepa. And even I am personally looking forward to have your book.
Thank you.
So Deepa, so now looking forward, and now I have a last question for you, Deepa. And so I ask this question to all the people, all the leaders, those who are coming on Vyapar Jagat TV. So the question is very simple. I mean, what sort of message do you want to give to fellow entrepreneurs or MSME business owners?
Sure. There are a couple of points I would like to share, but if I were to mention the first major point is that a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses have kind of lost heart and lost confidence because of what has been happening in the world the last 18 to 20 months. I think my message to them will be just hang in there, don't give up, because the business impact is not just for you, it's the whole world that has been impacted. It's every business in some way or the other has been impacted. So number one, don't give up, just hang in there, and the transformation or the change is just around the corner. The second thing I would like to share is that a lot of times, so I told you, right, I teach at several management institutes, and many of my young students, they come back, they come up and say that we are starting this, I'm going to start this business, I'm looking forward to starting this new venture. Very young, kids wanting to be, future entrepreneurs. So one question I ask them is that, why do you want to do this business? Why? What is your why? What is your purpose?
Most powerful.
Your business purpose.
Yeah.
That's the single most powerful thing. Why? And you'll be surprised, Praveen, a lot of people don't know why they want to do something. The why is missing in today's entrepreneurial ecosystem. And that's why statistics, if you see, shows that within the first year of operations, 85 to 90% of entrepreneurs fail. Why? Because of a lack of a compelling purpose and a compelling vision. So this is something that I would urge all the entrepreneurs to look into. The purpose of the business, your compelling reason of why you exist, and what it is that you are building for the future. right? So I know jokingly, some of the kids mentioned to me, so why do you really want to do this business? Oh, ma'am, so we actually want to build this product and see if we can get acquired by either Facebook or Google. And I want to sell off my business and probably buy an island, and settle down somewhere on this planet. So, these kind of businesses won't last. Or they really don't impact the society the way they intend to impact. So if you really want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to have a compelling vision, a singularity of purpose and integrity. Business integrity is very, very important. The principles on which you're building your business is very important. So that, I think, would be the single most important message I would like to give out to the entrepreneurs. It's not about the money. It's not about the profits. Hey, you are in business to make profits. Come on, we all are in business to make profits. But that is, that is the sustenance part. But what is your foundation? I think I would urge all entrepreneurs to look at the foundation of the business.
Certainly, very, very powerful message, Deepa. That is because, see, even just last week, I was going through one of the article. I'll not disclose the name of the source, but there was an article which was written on the startup success. So as per that article, 94% startups are getting failed within the first 4 years. Right? Yeah. So that is the survey. I mean,
85 to 90% in first year and 95% of them within 4 years. I mean, isn't it an alarming statistic?
It is, absolutely it is. Yeah, certainly. So well said, Deepa. Thank you so much for joining in today's online webinar, online session. And we are great to having you in this particular session. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for your the insights you have shared. And I'm sure a lot of early risers, a lot of new startups, and the entire ecosystem will learn the lessons out of this particular journey, or your journey. Yeah, thank you so much, Deepa.
Thanks a lot, Praveen, for having me. And I was so, I'm glad to have been able to share a little bit of my learnings. And I really hope it is going to be helpful for someone out there. So thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you so much.